Welcome back. This is Dimensional Analysis Part 2. In this video we're going to try a question that's a little bit tougher and is going to actually require your conversion factors sheet. So as you can see on your screen, we are trying to solve the question, you are traveling at 50 miles per hour, how many feet per second is that? So we're actually going to go through the exact same steps that we did in the previous video, starting with number one, what is the unit that we're looking for? So we're looking for something in feet per second. This is a ratio. When we write a ratio, we're going to put the feet on top, and per second means like over seconds. So when we're done, we want an answer in feet per second. Okay, step two is to put down all of the things that we already know. So this is where our conversion factor sheet is going to come in handy. We've actually got two things that we're trying to change in order to arrive at our answer. We have miles and we have hour in our question, and we need to go to feet and second. So we're going to go to our conversion factor sheet and look for things that'll help us to get to those two places. So here's a conversion factor sheet from class, and let's start with the miles. And right here we have miles into yards. We don't want yards, we want miles into feet. There's miles into feet. So 1 mile is the same as 5,280 feet. That's a conversion factor that we can use. So 1 mile, 5280. For every 1 mile, it's 5,280 feet. Okay, and that does it for us for the distance part. That'll get us from miles into feet. But we still have to do hours into seconds, and that is stuff we already know. So we know that there are 60 minutes in every single 1 hour. We also know that there are 60 seconds in every single minute. So now we have what we know in order to go from miles into feet, and how to go, or we have everything that we need in order to go from hours into seconds. So we can go to step 3. In step 3, we're going to set up our question, and I recommend that you leave a pretty decent space between step 2 and step 3, because I'm going to show you some things as we go from 2 to 3 in this space in the middle here. So just like in the last video, we want to start with the thing that we want to end up on the right. We want to end up with feet per second. And we're going to start out our problem with the thing that they're telling us. So they're telling us that it's 50 miles per hour. That's the unit that we're trying to change into something else. So we're going to start with that. So we're starting with 50 miles. That's how far we can go in every single 1 hour. This is the rate that we need to convert. So we have a choice here. We can either start by converting the miles or the hours. It really doesn't matter, because one of the rules of math is when you're multiplying, the order of things doesn't matter. So I'm just going to choose arbitrarily to start with miles. So the first thing that I want to do is get rid of that miles on the top. Well, the factor that I pulled from my conversion factor sheet has miles on the top also. So we need to switch this one. If I have 1 mile for every 5,280 feet, that's the exact same as saying every 5,280 feet is 1 mile. So if I flip the top and the bottom, this conversion factor is the same amount. It's saying the exact same thing, just in the other direction. So if I were to say 5,280 feet is the same as 1 mile, that's the exact same thing. And that's the way that we want it written. We want miles on the bottom so that it'll cancel out. So we're going to move that down here. 5,280 feet for every 1 mile. Okay, great. Now miles, those units cancel out, and we're left with feet. That's exactly what we want in our answer. So good, we're done with the top part. Now we just have to figure out how to get this hours to convert into seconds. So we're going to go from hours, well, we have hours here. We can convert from hours into minutes and then minutes into seconds. So we're going to take 2 more steps. So we need to get something with hours on the top. We have the same problem that we had with the miles and the feet. 1 hour is the same as 60 minutes. 60 minutes is the same as 1 hour. They're the same amount of time. So I can just flip that fraction over. I can say 1 hour is the same as 60 minutes. Now I have hours on the top where I want it. so that it'll cancel out with the hours on the bottom over here, and I can write it in. 1 hour over 60 minutes. Now, even though this is written way over here and they're far apart from each other, remember in multiplication the order doesn't matter. So if I really wanted to rewrite this, I could move it over here, but it doesn't matter that they're far apart. The units, because we're doing multiplication, will still cancel with each other, so hours goes away and we're left with minutes. But remember, we want to get to seconds, so we've got to do one more. We've got minutes into seconds up here, but again, minutes is in the bottom, and we want it on the top so that it'll cancel out. So we got to switch this one around too. Every 1 minute is the same as 60 seconds. That's why we're allowed to flip it, because we didn't change the value. Those are the exact same amounts of time. Now we can plug that in. 1 minute is the same as 60 seconds. Now, when I multiply, minutes go away, and we're left with seconds on the bottom, which is exactly the unit that we want. So we're left with, if I check back, the only two units I should find not crossed out are feet and seconds, and that's what we want in our answer. The last step, step number 4, is just to solve, so let's do that. All of the items on the top need to be multiplied together, and then all of the items on the bottom. So starting on the left, we had 50 times 5,280 times 1 times 1. Those are all the items across the top. For the bottom, we have 1 times 1 times 60 and 60 again. All right, when I multiply across the top, get out my calculator, figure that out, it comes out to 264,000, and our unit was feet. And the bottom is 1 times 1 times 60 times 60. That comes out to 3,600 seconds. So what I just figured out is that I will go almost 250,000 feet every 3,600 seconds. But that's a really kind of a big term. So we're going to simplify this fraction and do this big number divided by 3,600 in order to simplify it. And what we get for our final answer is 73.3 feet per second. Now that you have seen 2 practice examples, your job is to move on to the explain category on your week handout. And for the explain category, you get the right paper here. I recommend that you pause the video and you need to answer these questions. The first one is, what are the most important things to remember after watching this video? Number 2 is, summarize the purpose for doing this, like in your own words. And then the next one is summarize the process. Like if you were going to go home and explain how dimensional analysis works in order to go from one unit to another, how would you describe that to somebody without being able to write anything? Once you have finished the explain section, if you're still listening, I'm expecting that you're done with this. Once you're done with the explain section, you need to move on to the A part of the week handout. That is apply. For apply, here are the 2 questions that I want you to answer on your own. You're going to probably need to pause this video so that you can record these 2 questions or read them from the screen, because the last section is the Q on week. And if you are still listening to this video, I'm assuming that you are done with the apply and you're ready to go on to Q. For the Q section, you need to ask a question. You can pick one of these 2 choices. Either number 1, what questions do you still have? If you're confused or misunderstanding, the best thing you can do as a student is to put that misunderstanding into a well-defined question. Don't just say, how do you do this? Try to ask a more specific question. That'll help you more as a student. If you feel like you've got the grasp of this, I'd like you to make up your own practice question that could be posed to another student. If you want to check your apply answers, I'm going to have those answers posted. I'm going to have those posted on block day so that you can check those after this assignment is due, because I want you to be able to go and make your own mistakes and try it out yourself first. Good luck.